Hey guys, it's MJ, and yesterday I created another mock-up deck for the Guardian of the Night. That first mock-up deck I made, I just couldn't use it. The paper was too thin. It was also very sharp. It was not designed to be cut into cards, that's for sure. It was menu paper. I had them printed at Kinko's, and when I saw that selection for the paper, I thought, oh, well, let's get that. It's supposed to be waterproof, and I thought in this house, having something waterproof is very handy, but it was too painful to shuffle. So this deck is wonderful. This is regular cardstock. So I just want to show you, I did reformat a couple things here. I reformatted the text. This font is called Nutcracker, which I thought was just very delightful. I gave the cards a border, and I put the text in the border. And I did that because I noticed quite a few people cutting the Crow Tarot deck. And I know that once the crows leave my nest, they are no longer mine. But when I saw that they were being cut, and then you have to have the wording here, the title, I thought, well, it just seemed a little askew. I mean, if it works for you, if you cut the deck and you like the way it works and you're getting a good reading from it, that's all that matters. For me, from my artist mind, my perspective, it just looked, again, like I said, a bit askew. So here with this deck, I designed it with those who like to cut decks in mind, in that if you want to cut the border off, you can, you don't lose the text, and it still looks cohesive. You know what I mean? It's like, it looks like it was designed that way. So if you want to cut it, great. I personally like my artwork framed. As the artist, I like to see my art, housed in something, but that's my personal preference. I tried to pick a border that blended nicely, that worked nicely with the cards, that showed off the artwork, so I complemented it. So let's do a reading. Let's see how this new deck reads. And it is a little bit bigger. I like having a nice solid deck when I'm doing a reading. I do also have small hands, but I find that this deck shuffles, the size is fine. It's not that much bigger. It's about the same size as any of the other on the larger end decks. Not so big. I mean, I've seen decks that are massive. This is not one of those. This is just a slightly bigger deck. So the first card I'm going to pull is that energy that we are working with today. This is the energy that is present to us at this moment. The energy that your guides here want to bring to your attention. And here we have the lemurs with the Six of Wands. So the Six of Wands here is about stepping into your victory space, that place of feeling as though you have found success. Revel in it for a little bit. Allow those who have been following you, who have been with you on your journey, to also just share in the celebration. They've worked hard too. They've been with you this whole time. So this is a time where not only are you feeling that amount of joy that comes from success, you're also being appreciated. This is a time to create momentum, because you're already in this space of success, right? You already have a bit of support here. You already have a victory under your belt. So this is a time for you to kind of enjoy the moment, bask in this glory, take time to appreciate the victory that you've accomplished. This is a time for you to look at how now you can best serve others from this place. You've got this, you've reached this, this position where you have a pretty good view of what the future can hold for you, right? You can see what steps are coming up next. And as long as, I feel like with this card, if you keep the focus at your base here, is essentially your base, your support group, those who admire you, those who have perhaps been with you since the beginning. When you hold their interests at heart as you're looking forward, it's not just about what you're seeing, for yourself. It's about what can you do to help others here. I think it's going to create a path that is going to just become even stronger, more significant as you move forward. So let's see what energy comes to us, excuse me, as a result of this moment of feeling success, this moment of feeling a bit of pride, perhaps, that you've done a good job, of feeling that recognition, right? I mean, it's one thing to do a good job and, you pat yourself on the back. It's another thing when everybody in the office goes, hey, wow, thank you. You really, helped the team this time, So here we have the Six of Pentacles. So, now the story with this Six of Pentacles is, this water buffalo and this oxpecker have a symbiotic relationship in that the water buffalo will provide all the ticks the oxpecker could ever hope to have in his life, right? And the oxpecker, in return, will warn the water buffalo if it spots any intruders or any threats coming to the watering hole, perhaps. And so here they have this lovely relationship of I feed you, you protect me, life is good, and you would think everything is working out beautifully. Well, this oxpecker is a bit of an opportunistic person or creature here, not a person, it's a bird, but it's opportunistic in that not only does it eat the ticks, but when the scab heals from the tick, it then goes in and begins to drink the blood. So it's not only, eating the ticks that are an outside element, it's also going after the water buffalo itself. So, unbeknownst to the water buffalo. So this to me is saying that, yes, there is this, opportunity for you to find, future success. There is this opportunity for you to move ahead in a way that brings others with you, that supports other people. But you have to be cautious here to ensure that this relationship stays symbiotic, that it doesn't become one-sided, that either one of you doesn't feel as though you're getting the blood drained out of you. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So to me, when I see this card, it brings up feelings of resentment. And so, yes, you may be sitting at this victory circle right now, and you may be looking at the long term. You may be looking down the road, like, what can I do to perhaps create more of this feeling? What can I do to, create a bigger impact and help others? And so, you have, when I see this Six of Pentacles, to me, it comes down to what are the motives? What is your inspiration for acting? Is it to benefit, in a way that helps others and you have this nice give and take? Or is it more about power? Is it more about like, well, the more I help other people, the greater the power I'm going to get? Or perhaps it could be, a concern here that the more you rise up, the more demands are going to be put upon you. And, for a lot of us, that's a big block. The higher I go up the ladder, the harder it's going to be to keep climbing, right? And so that's what I'm getting here with these two cards so far, is this feeling that, yes, there is success on the horizon. Excuse me, there's success on the horizon. You've already reached a certain level of that. But if there's any at all concern that, you know, you're going to feel as though there's this hiccup with being asked more than what you can give, or that it's going to be all of a sudden draining on you, you know, that's what, okay, let's see what advice, maybe that will help clarify this. Oh, geez, old Pete. Okay. Well, alrighty. So, the Three of Swords here is, it's a very dark image. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe I need to move it in the light. This is, man, this is about betrayal. This is about being released from the shackles after you experience a hurt, a pain. You see this little white feather in here in the shackle. You know, this is where you found your strength to leave a situation. This is a time of complete and utter heartbreak. This is where somebody took your trust and, you know, and exploited it. However, this is also, these chains here, you can see they're empty, and you can see this feather in here. You know, this time has passed. It's not a time that's occurring. It's one that, it's like now that you have experienced this situation, in that sense, you're free. You've already gone through this, you know? It's like you've already experienced the worst that could happen in this relationship. So, so what a roller coaster here. So we have, and again, this is advice. So this is not what is happening. This is the advice. And so what I'm getting here is this time in the victory circle, this time for you to, you know, to acknowledge your place as someone who has this potential to create success. You have this this potential to bring other people with you and to be a pioneer and to be a champion for those who look up to you. You have this potential to be up on this podium, to rise up, okay? If your motives are inspired by perhaps greed here, or being opportunistic, if your relationship becomes one-sided and you start looking for ways to take advantage, okay? Or if you start perhaps feeling as though you're being, you know, like that you're the one that's being taken advantage of here. If you start, if this negative energy comes in where one side begins to feel as though, wait a minute, you know, I'm not getting as much as I thought I was going to get, and there's no clarity there, it's going to lead, it could lead to a break. So this could be, you know, if you think about like at work, okay, or in a relationship, or anything where you've taken so much upon yourself and you've done so much good for other people, and you're in this place of being elevated, and you're in this wonderful place of that should be celebrated, right? You should totally be celebrated right now because you put in the work and you did it selflessly. Coming up, an opportunity may arise where it starts to chip at that success. It starts to peck at it like this oxpecker does. And before you know it, you start maybe feeling a bit, if you start feeling a bit entitled to take more, or if you start feeling as though, oh God, it's just draining. The more I do, the more they ask of me. The more, I volunteer to put in a weekend, next thing I know, I'm working all weekends, right? You know what I mean? It's like, if you allow that feeling to come in, what it will do is it will start breaking down this relationship, and eventually it will end. And so it depends on you. What do you want? Do you want this relationship to stay solid and grow and become more successful? If that's the case, pay close attention to where you start feeling the blood being drawn. Start paying attention to anything that looks or feels like resentment, whether it's on your side or somebody else's. If you pick up we all have the ability to pick up the cues from other people when they feel resentment. It can, humans are wonderful at being passive aggressive, when we feel as though somebody's taking advantage of us. So be cautious. Pay attention to your relationships with other people right now. What are you creating? Are you creating a strong bond with other people? Are you creating a beautiful symbiotic relationship? Or are you allowing for feelings of resentment to come in? Are you allowing others perhaps to peck at you, or are you pecking at them? However it works for you, just be aware. Again, this Three of Swords is not what will happen. It is what could happen. There's no permanency here. It's what could happen when a relationship breaks down. And when that happens, somebody ends up feeling hurt. You may start with these shackles here. These shackles may start to form if when the resentment forms, when you start feeling as though you're tied to doing something that once brought you joy, when you start feeling tied or obligated to somebody else. And when that separation happens, and if it happens, you'll be free. You'll be all the wiser for it as well. But it will come at a price, and it will be painful, because it's painful to go from this position here of feeling loved and adored to feeling resentment, to feeling loss. So just keep that in mind. This is not it's not set in stone. This is just, things just to be aware of, right? That's all it is. So just be cautious of where you start feeling resentment. Be cautious of if you start feeling as though, if you go home at the end of the day and you're like, oh my God, my staff are such bloodsuckers, If you start saying things like that, let this be a warning, that if you start holding resentment towards other people, or if you start taking advantage of other people, they will become painfully aware of that, and that's where the separation will take place. So so let's start off. I'm going to show you real fast here. We have the Six of Wands starting us off, and again, we're in a wonderful place. We're in the place to create our future, right? We're in this place to determine what the path looks like. The Six of Pentacles brings a bit of a warning, okay? The warning is this relationship is going great, There's you know, give and take here. However, if one person begins to take a little bit more than the other, resentment is going to build, okay? One person is going to start to feel as though they're being sucked dry, you know, or, you know, being taken advantage of. And that in itself will lead to a separation here. And it will be one that is painful, and it will be one that will take you aback. It will cause you to reevaluate perhaps some of the processes in your life, you know. The only benefit to this is any resentment that you were feeling or any resentment others were feeling will be released because the relationship is no longer there. So yeah, on a positive note, geez, oh Pete, focus here. Focus on where you can do the greater good. Focus on your relationships and how to make them stronger. Yeah, well, much love to you. And I hope everyone has a beautiful, beautiful Sunday, and, you know, focusing on what we can all do to be better people in our relationships. So much love. Bye, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.